Well, hey garden friends, it's Destry. Welcome back to my Oregon yard. Today we're going to talk about geraniums. They're some of my favorite plants. We're going to talk about propagating geraniums, planting geraniums. We're going to up pot some geraniums that I've already propagated and just spend a little moment appreciating this gorgeous, gorgeous plant that I'm overwintering here in my Oregon greenhouse. So if you've never grown geraniums before, I would say give them a try. First of all, buying geranium seeds is pretty inexpensive and they're very quick to germinate and pretty easy to grow. So last year I planted a lot of red geraniums, and I have to say I was very happy with how easy they were to start the seeds and how easy they were to grow. The other thing that I love about geraniums, you guys, is that they are just constant bloomers. So you will definitely get a lot of bang for your buck if you plant geranium seeds, if you even just purchase geranium starts. They literally bloom all season long. Now, another thing I love about geraniums is that you can overwinter them. So even if you have like a garage, a shed that's maybe insulated, as long as it doesn't get too freezing, or you can just bring them inside in your laundry room, and as long as they don't freeze, they're very easy to overwinter. Now, my geraniums are here in the greenhouse and they are just loving their life. They are still producing blooms for me even here in February. Third reason I absolutely love geraniums is that they are super easy to propagate. And you guys know I love propagating plants. It is budget friendly. It's a really quick and easy way to increase your collection. And so I have been doing some propagating of my geraniums this winter in anticipation for spring and summer planters. Why not? If you can just take a clipping, stick it in some dirt and make new plants, that's a free plant. Today I'm going to walk you through the simple steps of propagating geraniums, and then I also have some geraniums that I am going to be up potting, and I'll show you those as well. But before we get started with all of that, let me go ahead and give you a quick tour in the greenhouse and just show you some of my beautiful geraniums that I have blooming here in Zone 8B. All right, guys, so we are in the greenhouse, and I'm just going to show you a few of my geranium blooms here just to kind of get you inspired. I love this salmon colored one here. So this is definitely one that I want to continue to propagate. It is so beautiful and I don't have very many of these. In fact, I think that might be the only mature one that I have. I have this light pink colored one, which again, I don't have very many of these, but look at these gorgeous blooms. Now this bloom's a little aged out. One thing about overwintering geraniums I've noticed is they do need fertilizer. So you have to continue to fertilize them. Here's another one of those salmon pink ones here. You have to continue to fertilize them so that you continue to get blooms. Now you don't have to do that when you're overwintering. If you wanted to, you could just sort of cut them back and let them go dormant. And if you're overwintering them in a cooler location, that's actually probably better for the plant. Now mine are here in the nice warm greenhouse and they are just going gangbusters. These red ones are the ones that I grew from seed last year. And so I used them in my landscape and then I dug them out and I'm overwintering them, just in some nursery pots here. But you can see they're doing really, really well. Now, the other thing I have to do with these, you guys, is I have to go in and groom them very often. I will come in here and I will take off, you can see back in here. They will continually do this. They will kind of, lose some leaves. I might need to trim off some of the dead spent blooms. And so one thing about, overwintering them, another thing is that they do need a little bit of grooming throughout the winter season. Over here is another kind of coral colored one. And then I've got another one of this really pretty pink. I believe this pink one here is one that I grew from seed last year as well. I've got another bloom coming here. So you can see with fertilizer, they are doing really, really well. Down here, I've got another hot pink one. And then over here is one of the fuchsias that I propagated. And I just wanted to show you everywhere where I cut, I am getting, regrowth. So it's actually really healthy for the plant to do this kind of cutting. And the same for the geraniums as well. It's not going to hurt the plant at all to take some cuttings from these today. Over here, I've got some more of these kind of bright pink ones. The blooming here, I was holding this one up earlier in the intro of my video. I've got another red one here. So you can see I have quite a few of them. So, you know, the question is, do I really need more? And the answer is, of course I do. Now, this one isn't blooming, but good example of this grooming process where you kind of have to just go in and kind of groom them to help them look better. And, you know, for the health of the plant, I'm sure it doesn't hurt either. But yes, I need more geraniums. Now, the thing I love about them too, you guys, is they really bloom all season long in pots for me. So I'm planning on using these not only in my landscape, but also in a lot of my planters this year. So I definitely want to increase my collection. So a couple weeks back, I went ahead and tried propagating some of my geraniums, and I've also been propagating some of my fuchsias. I have that in a different video, and I'll link that for you below. But I just wanted to kind of take you on a tour here and show you what's been going on. So these are my fuchsias. You can see almost all of them have taken. And then back here, I have 1, 2, 3 propagations of the fuchsias. And look at this one. It's blooming, you guys. I can't even believe it. So all of them have took. They are looking so great, and so today I'm going to be doing more clipping, and I'll show you kind of how to do that, the proper place to sort of cut them, and you guys, it's so simple. I've got over here that, again, this bloom is a little aged out, so I'll probably go ahead and trim that back today. And the more that you cut on those old blooms, the more that they will, you know, start to push new blooms for you. But I've got 2 more big healthy plants over here. And some of these I've overwintered for several seasons now, and so, you know, the plant themselves are pretty big. And so if we get down into the structure of the plant a little bit, you can see it has kind of a more of a woody stem that comes up. And then, you know, here is where this new growth is happening, kind of on the top of these longer stems. So you definitely can trim these back and kind of keep them more compact, or you can, you know, like this one, kind of let these longer pieces kind of develop. And that works as well for overwintering them. I've got one more up here that's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and talk about like where would be a good place to do a cutting. So what you'd want to do, or what I've had success in doing anyway, is finding one of the woody stems and sort of following it up to some of this new growth. And so what I would want to do is make sure I include some of the woody stem. So I would probably take this one to about here, and I would just clip basically the top of one of the branches. So you kind of have to decide, you know, which plant you're going to do that with, or if you only have one. So for instance, this is one here. This is another geranium that honestly, I probably would not propagate this one. It's nice and small, and it's pretty compact and tidy. So I probably wouldn't do one like this, but one like this that has these, you know, longer branches, it's not going to hurt the plant at all to take that branch down a little bit. So today for my propagating, I am going to be working with some of these pinks and corals. These are the ones that I really want to try to increase my collection. So I'm just going to pull this guy out. And again, if we kind of look at the structure of the plant here, we can see we have those stems that I'm talking about, and then it kind of comes up to a more fresh growth point. So I need to kind of take a look at this plant and see, you know, where would be a good area to propagate. So for instance, right here, I could clip that there, and then here is a fresh growth area, you can see there. So right there would be a really good place to clip and take a cutting. Let's see if I turn it around. Got to get kind of to the other side here. And I'm trying to see, that is definitely a spot right there. Also right here would be a good place. So you can see there's kind of a dead part of the stem right there. So I could clip this whole branch. Now this one has a bloom that's going to happen, so I'm probably not going to do that one there. I'll probably select this first one that I was looking at down here. So let's go ahead and clip that one for propagating. So inspecting this one a little bit more, here is another spot where I could take a cutting. This is nice, fresh green growth here. Now there is a bloom developing, which I could pinch that off, but honestly, I've had pretty good luck just clipping them and having them bloom, having the actual propagations bloom. But this stem there would be a good candidate for doing a cutting. Also, if I look into the plant a little bit more, you can see that there's that woody stem there, and then there's 2 fresh growth points there. So either one of those, I could like cut that right there and use that whole piece as a cutting. So you kind of just have to experiment and kind of get more confident as you're selecting, where to do a cutting. Now the red ones that I've got, I have a lot of those, and I'm not planning on propagating, as many of those. This coral colored one and this kind of multicolored one, these are the ones that I'm kind of leaning into. So let me investigate these plants here and see what I can come up with. This one here is a little less mature, and so I'm not going to do any cuttings on that one. But if I get into this one a little bit, and I'm running out of space here in my greenhouse, but if I kind of get into this plant a little bit, I'm betting that I will have some areas where I could get in here and propagate. I'm also noticing some slug or snail action on that leaf, so I'll probably trim that leaf off of here. But if we get into this area here, so here's another little spot where I could just clip that right there. I could use that whole kind of top piece here. Sorry, there's so many leaves in the way. I could do that as a cutting right there, and that would take off and do really, really well. So again, you kind of just have to experiment, but you want to make sure you're getting part of the stem of the plant. So for instance, I wouldn't just like cut a leaf here and try to propagate that. You want to get down into the stem part so that you have something to push down into the soil in order for this to work. So I'm going to go ahead and up pot, actually I'm going to up pot most of my fuchsias here and the geraniums that I've done. So if you can kind of see what I'm talking about here as far as, what I've pushed down into the soil here. I only have these 3, but all 3 of them have rooted. And again, I could pinch this bloom off of here, and that probably would be actually maybe better for the plant because it could concentrate on developing roots. But honestly, I've had such good luck with these, you guys. They don't even seem to mind the fact that they're blooming. But I am going to go ahead now and start to get these up potted. All right, well, I'm going to start with this little cutie patootie, and I'm going to up pot him into this pot here. So I've already got a little bit of soil down there. So let's go ahead and open this guy up and take a look at the roots that are developing. You can see it does have a nice little root system here. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I'm just going to go ahead and introduce some fresh soil to this cutting and top that off. All right, so I've got my dirt in here. Now I'm just going to take my little trowel here and just sort of tamp it in or tap it in. And I'm just using regular potting mix for that. I'm going to set the fuchsias aside for a minute and let's focus on these geraniums. And I'm just using little 4-inch nursery pots that I've saved from the summertime or other projects that I've done, and using those. So I'm going to go ahead with my small little trowel here and lift this cutting, and let's kind of see what it's got going here. So you can see there's some roots developing there. I mean, it's still pretty small. It's still a little baby, but I think it's ready for a potting up, which basically means to, give it some fresh soil and put it in a bigger container. If you don't have little nursery pots like this, you could totally use like solo cups, plastic drinking cups. You could reuse yogurt dishes or yogurt containers. Definitely could upcycle some containers if you don't have any small nursery pots like I'm using today. So here's that one that's blooming. So you can almost see that piece that I pushed down into the dirt and how it's already developing roots. And these have been, they've been sitting under my grow lights for probably 2 weeks in order to get this far. But you can see the cuttings themselves weren't very big. Like this one here is not a very big piece. And again, that's why I waited to do this video till now, because I wanted to make sure this process was going to be successful. before sharing it with you. Now, you also could use a rooting hormone, which is like a little powder that you can coat the bottom with, and you could try that method as well. But I didn't do that for these, and they've done really well. So there you can see I've got 4, maybe you can't see, I've got 4 cuttings that I did here about, what, 2 weeks ago. I've got 4 brand new plants to add to my landscape and my containers this year. So that's pretty exciting. So I would want to keep these watered in, and I would want to keep them probably under the grow lights for now, indoors where it's nice and warm. So just to make a little bit more room, I'm going to go ahead and up pot some of the rest of these fuchsias. So again, this is another really easy one to basically just take cuttings, put them in some soil. Now, some of these I did use the rooting hormone on, and some I didn't. I didn't really notice that much of a difference between how they performed with or without that rooting hormone. It didn't seem to make any difference. So these ones have been in here for about 2 weeks. And so I'm gonna check them here and just see how they're doing. Yeah, see all those lovely roots that are developing there. I mean, these are totally ready to get into a bigger pot here. So I am using wet soil to do this process. And I'm just going to kind of hopefully bury that cutting a little deeper so it can really continue to develop roots. I could have put that one a little deeper. Let's try for this next one to be a little bit deeper here. But I want these to continue developing roots. And I do have these indoors, so they're nice and warm, and I have them under grow lights. So that's probably a better example. You want to plant them a little bit deeper so that they can be stabilized. So I'm just going to keep going on this set and get these out of here, and then I'm going to use this same tray to do some more propagating of the geraniums. So I'm ready to start some of my cuttings now for my new geraniums that I want to do. So I went ahead and filled my cell tray with some wet potting soil, and this is bagged soil. It's not soil from the ground. And now I'm going to work with my cuttings. So I went ahead and did some cuttings of the geraniums. So I just kind of wanted to show you what they look like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove any of these sort of bottom leaves here. So this is what you want to see here. Now you could dip this in some rooting hormone, but I'm not even going to do that step. I am just going to force these down into some soil. Here is another one. I'm going to remove some of the bottom leaves. I've got a nice fresh cut here, so I'm not letting the cut even heal over. I'm just pushing it down into soil. Now this one has a bloom, so I am going to eliminate the bloom, I think, just for the health of the cutting, because really I want this little plant to focus on making roots down here and not so much on the bloom. So again, this one has a bloom, so I'm going to just remove that and remove this bottom stem. Some of these are a little long, but that's okay. I have kind of a small tray here. So I've got 1, 2, 3. This one is a small cutting. And again, these are all of my varieties that are those coral colors and pinks, because that's really what I want to increase my collection. I'm just going to remove a few more of these. You just want enough leaves so that that plant can, photosynthesize here. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more spots. So I'm going to keep doing some clipping and getting some more cuttings prepared. But literally, that's how easy it is, you guys. At least that's the success that I've had personally. Just clip them, make sure you have some of that bigger stem, push them into soil, and within a couple weeks, I've got roots. All right, here's a couple more. This one I was a little shy. I probably should have got a little bit more of that flesh there. So I know that this one's kind of, soil's not wanting to cooperate, but I know that these are all going to be those pretty coral colors and pinks. Okay, I need 4 more. Let's see if I can keep going here. Got a couple more here. Make a little hole, maybe that'll help a little bit. And you definitely could use a bigger starting tray. This starting tray is a little small for what I'm doing, but that's okay. We're just gonna push them in here and hope for the best. This one's got kind of 2 growth points. I think I'm just gonna leave it as is. Get rid of the bottom leaf there, and done. So for care of this, I am gonna only be bottom watering it. So I'll put water in the bottom of my tray here, and that's pretty much it. I am gonna put it under the grow lights, and I'm gonna make sure that it stays damp, and hopefully within a few weeks, I will have a ton more geranium plants. I'm also gonna get rid of that little leaf there, and maybe this big one, because some of these are a little big. I'm gonna trim it up a little bit more here. There's a few pretty big leaves here that I probably don't need. Trim it down just a bit more so it's a little bit more manageable. There we go. That's looking a little better. Maybe ditch that one. Perfect. All right. I think that's looking pretty dang good. So this is the other fuchsia plant that I did cuttings off of. So you can see everywhere I did a cutting, there is new growth. Now, I'm not saying that that'll be the same case with the geraniums. The geraniums, I think, are a little bit different, but I just wanted to show you it does not affect the health of the plant at all. So I'm curious, what's your experience been growing geraniums? Have you ever tried growing them, starting them from seed, or propagating them? Leave me a comment below and let me know. Also, if you have any questions about geraniums, please go ahead and drop them in the comments below. All right, guys, well, I hope that you like checking out geraniums and hanging out with me in the greenhouse today. If you need me, I'll be doing some gardening. I'll see you next time. Bye.